Welcome, learners, to another deep dive. Have you ever found yourself sort of drawn to places with a heavy past? Maybe an old battlefield, or ruins from a big event, or even a memorial?
Yeah, those places that have a certain weight to them.
Exactly. Today we're diving into something fascinating, sometimes controversial too, called dark tourism.
It's a term that's really popped up a lot recently, hasn't it? You see it in TV shows, documentaries, exploring these kinds of sites.
Definitely.
And our research, well, it shows this isn't just some small niche thing. We found this huge guide covering, get this, over 1,000 dark places across 116 countries.
Wow, 1,000 places. That's huge.
It really underscores the scale we're talking about.
So our mission today is to kind of unpack this. What is dark tourism exactly? Why are people, maybe even you, the listener, drawn to sites of, well, death and tragedy?
And crucially, how can we engage with these places respectfully, ethically?
Right. We want to explore what it is, and maybe just as importantly, what it isn't. We've got some really unique examples from our sources that might surprise you. Okay, let's get into it.
That's good.
So, first things first. Our sources mention a few names for this type of travel. Black tourism, Thanatos tourism.
Yeah.
That's from the Greek for death, right?
That's right. Thanatos. Or even grief tourism.
No.
But the core idea, the basic definition,
What is it fundamentally?
well, at its heart, it's tourism linked to places associated with death, disaster, suffering, tragedy.
Okay.
One academic definition we saw frames it as the representation of inhuman acts and how these are interpreted for visitors.
Interpreted. Interesting.
Yeah. Another one puts it as the circulation of people to places characterized by distress, atrocity, or sadness and pain. It's really about confronting these darker aspects of history or humanity.
Okay, but here's something I found really interesting. The big guide we mentioned. It's super clear about what isn't dark tourism, at least in its view.
Ah, yes. The distinctions.
Yeah.
That's important.
It explicitly distances itself from stuff that feels voyeuristic, you know, like slum tourism or traveling to active current war zones.
Exactly. It draws a firm line. No danger tourism either, or ghost hunts, nothing paranormal,
Right, no ghost hunting.
or even things like battle reenactments.
Yeah.
And critically, it absolutely condemns disrespectful behavior. The big example being taking selfies at, say, a concentration camp memorial.
Yeah, that seems obvious, but clearly needs saying. So if that's what it isn't, what is it endorsing? What's the good way to do it according to the source?
It promotes, let's see the wording, respectful and enlightened touristic engagement with contemporary history and its dark sides in a sober, educational, and non-sensationalist manner.
Sober, educational, non-sensationalist.
Well,
Okay.
you, the listener, that distinction is key. It really frames what being a thoughtful or good dark tourist is all about. Respect, education, understanding.
It definitely sounds like it's not just one thing then. Our sources talk about a spectrum. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, spectrum is a great way to put it. Think of it like this. On one end, you have the really darkest experiences. These are serious, often quite intense, focus heavily on education and remembrance,
Okay, like what?
like visiting authentic historical sites, maybe even talking to survivors or people directly affected.
Yeah.
Think about the Berlin Wall Memorial or Tuol Sleng in Cambodia, the Genocide Museum and the Killing Fields, places that really force you to confront history.
Right. Very direct, very somber. And the other end.
That's where things get more commercial,
Mhm.
maybe a bit romanticized even. The main intention shifts more towards entertainment, maybe a thrill, rather than pure education or reflection.
Ah, okay.
Like
Yeah.
the London Dungeons is a classic example. It's been called Disneyfied. Live actors, jump scares, sensory stuff, even a ride simulating hanging.
A ride. Wow.
Yeah, height restricted and everything. Or imagine like a Jack the Ripper themed fun fair ride. That kind of thing sits firmly on the commercial entertainment end.
Gotcha. And you mentioned we have some personal anecdotes from a traveler in our sources.
Yeah.
Those can really bring this spectrum idea to life.
Absolutely. There are a few good ones. For instance, this traveler visited the Evansee concentration camp memorial in Austria. It's deep inside these mountain tunnels where forced laborers were meant to build V-2 rockets.
That sounds intense.
Notes just say creepy and cold. You feel that, right?
Yeah.
That's leaning towards that darker, more authentic end of the spectrum, a very visceral reaction.
Definitely. And then somewhere else on that spectrum, maybe.
How about Berchtesgaden in Germany,
Mm.
home to the Obersalzberg complex, and the Kelstein House, most people know it as the Eagle's Nest, Nazi history sites.
The Hitler's mountain retreat.
Exactly. The Kelstein House, the tea house, built way up high for his 50th birthday. Apparently, he only visited about 14 times.
Only 14, after all that effort.
Yeah, and the guide our source used calculated the cost about $140 million back then for the
Mm.
road, the lift, everything. So each visit, each cup of tea cost effectively $10 million.
$10 million for a cup of tea? That's astounding.
It's described as educational, yes, but also mass touristy. Lots of visitors, apparently many Americans. Thankfully, the source notes it's not become a neo-Nazi pilgrimage site. So it's historical, but with a much more commercial, touristy layer.
That makes sense. And there was another really powerful one from Italy, the dam.
Ah, yes, the Vajont Dam. A truly tragic story. 1963, a huge landslide crashes into the reservoir.
Oh, no.
It caused this massive wave, just obliterated the town of Langerone below. Around 2,000 people killed.
2,000. And was it preventable?
That's the heartbreaking part. Our source says the geological instability was known. Apparently, corruption pushed aside the safety concerns, human error, human greed leading to catastrophe.
That's chilling.
Today, the dam wall itself, mostly undamaged, is a regular tourist magnet. You can walk along the top, look down. It's 260 meters into the gorge.
260 meters, that's incredibly deep. Like the Hamburg TV tower, it says here.
Exactly. So you're standing there, on the structure linked to this preventable tragedy, looking down into this immense space. It's a mix of tourism, history, and a stark warning.
Okay, so we've got a sense of what dark tourism is, the spectrum from solemn to commercial.
Yeah.
But why? Why do people do this? What's the motivation, for you, the listener, to maybe visit a place like that?
That's the big question, isn't it? The why. And our sources suggest it's complicated. There isn't just one reason.
Okay.
For some, it seems to be about connection. A desire to emotionally connect, maybe absorb something of the atmosphere of a place marked by tragedy, to engage with history on a gut level, not just intellectually.
Like bearing witness.
Kind of, yeah. Bearing witness, reflecting, taking time to think about the human condition, maybe.
Right.
This seems especially true for the darker end of the spectrum, that search for understanding is a big driver.
So education plays a role, too.
Oh, definitely. A major role. Understanding past events, learning about complex histories, seeking something different from a typical vacation. It's about wanting to know, wanting to learn, even when the subject matter is difficult.
Right. And our sources actually break this down further, don't they? Into different types of dark tourism sites. I think there were 7 plus 1 extra.
Exactly. These categories help map out the different kinds of experiences you might find. Let's run through them quickly.
Go for it.
First, dark fun factories. Sounds a bit weird, maybe.
A little bit, yeah. Fun.
Well, think themed entertainment. Escape rooms with dark historical twists, maybe zombie chase games, things like that. The source mentions the Island of the Dolls in Mexico.
Oh, I've heard of that. Super creepy.
Yeah, started by a guy hanging dolls to ward off spirits, now it attracts thrill seekers. Though apparently there are fakes now, too, trying to cash in.
Always a way. Okay, what's next?
Dark exhibitions. These are more straightforwardly educational. Museum exhibits about the Holocaust, say, or the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, designed for respectful learning. Then dark dungeons. Actual historical dungeons, some preserved, some, like we said, Disney-fied like the London one.
Okay.
Dark resting places. Cemeteries, mausoleums, surprisingly popular. Think Père Lachaise in Paris or Recoleta in Buenos Aires, Lenin's mausoleum in Moscow, even the Taj Mahal, technically a mausoleum.
The Taj Mahal? Huh, I never thought of it that way.
Right, and the source specifically mentions the Sedlec ossuary near Prague, the Bone Church, described as eerie and fascinating, uses human bones for decoration.
The Bone Church, yes. Seen pictures, definitely dark tourism.
Then dark shrines, memorial sites, often with religious significance, like the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, very significant in many cultures.
Right.
Dark conflict sites, battlefields, war zones after peace returns. Vietnam is a big one for learning about the war, or the D-Day landing beaches in Normandy.
Important historical sites.
And finally, the 7th original type, dark camps of genocide. Places like Auschwitz-Birkenau, sites in Rwanda, Karaganda, in Kazakhstan. Extremely difficult, profoundly important places of memory and education.
Deeply somber, absolutely essential. And the 8th type, the one added by our source.
That's dark disasters, sites linked to natural or man-made catastrophes. And these can become popular tourist spots, sometimes quite quickly.
Like Chernobyl.
Exactly like Chernobyl.
Mhm.
Bookings apparently jumped 30% after that big TV series, even though it's still, radioactive.
Risky.
And Pompeii, after the movie came out, visitor numbers apparently shot up from 2 million to over 3.5 million a year.
Wow. Film tourism meets dark tourism.
Pretty much. Even Bikini Atoll, the nuclear test site, attracts divers, nuclear tourists, despite the ongoing hazards. There's a strange pull to these places of destruction and survival.
It really shows the breadth. And speaking of unique sites, those traveler's notes had some wild ones, didn't they, from Azerbaijan and Georgia?
Oh yeah, really stretched the definition. In Azerbaijan, the source mentioned the mud volcanoes, just bizarre. They bubble and, well, the notes say fart, cold gray mud. Totally weird, apparently.
Farting mud volcanoes? Okay.
And the old oil fields near Baku, described as very post-apocalyptic, James Bond-like. Part of the 007 film The World Is Not Enough was shot there. That decaying industrial landscape.
That's a whole different flavor.
And the fire mountain, Yanar Dag. Natural gas seeping out and burning constantly for decades. Very hypnotic, the source called it. A natural phenomenon with this sort of dark, eternal feel.
Fascinating. And Georgia had that Stalin Museum.
Yes, in Gori, his birthplace.
Yeah.
This one sounds incredibly surreal. The Traveler called it one of the most surreal museums in the world. Like, time stopped in 1953 when he died.
How so?
It apparently presents Stalin purely as a hero. His death mask is there, childhood photos, even his poetry is described as bumpy.
Bumpy poetry.
Apparently. But absolutely no mention of the purges, the gulags, the millions who suffered and died under his rule.
Yeah.
Completely one-sided. A real exercise in propaganda preserved in time.
That's deeply unsettling. Propaganda tourism, almost.
In a way.
Hmm.
And maybe the most intense-sounding experience was Agdam in the Gorno-Karabakh.
What's
Described as the world's largest ghost city. It used to be home to maybe 100,000 Azeri people. Now, a sea of hollow house ruins, completely deserted, plundered after the conflict.
devastating? Can you even visit?
Technically, no. The source said visiting isn't allowed. They just drove through the outskirts, and even that was very nerve-wracking. A real raw sense of destruction and loss.
Wow. These examples really push the boundaries. From weird nature to propaganda to actual ghost cities, it underlines how varied this all is.
It absolutely does.
Which inevitably brings us to the ethics. This is the tricky part, isn't it? Is it actually okay to visit sites of death, tragedy, disaster?
This is where the debate really heats up.
Yeah.
And yeah, our sources definitely point to public backlash sometimes. The Chernobyl Instagram photos are a prime example.
Oh, yes. The influencers posing inappropriately.
Exactly. In fashion outfits or even underwear at the site of a nuclear disaster, trying to look cool or sexy against a backdrop of immense suffering and environmental catastrophe, it caused huge outrage, and rightly so.
So what counts as inappropriate behavior more generally at these sites? What should people avoid?
Well, the sources list quite a few things. Obvious ones like photographing people who are clearly grieving or in distress, smiling or laughing loudly, especially around those who are suffering or remembering loss.
Basic respect, really.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Also, treating local people like exhibits, making insensitive jokes or comments, wearing really inappropriate clothing like beachwear at a war cemetery,
Okay, yeah.
seeking personal gain, trying to profit from someone else's tragedy, talking loudly about completely unrelated things, just a general lack of awareness and respect for the place and its meaning.
It sounds like the core message for you, the listener, is that being a responsible dark tourist isn't just nice, it's essential.
Absolutely crucial. It's about mindfulness, being respectful of the victims, their families, the communities affected, supporting local economies responsibly if you can.
And being aware of your own impact.
Exactly. Understanding that these aren't just items on a travel checklist. They are places with deep, often painful significance. It demands thought, sensitivity, reflection. It's complex.
So wrapping this up then, we've taken quite the deep dive into dark tourism. We've seen it's this huge, varied landscape, everything from solemn memorials and sites of genocide.
To weird natural phenomena like mud volcanoes, eerie bone churches, Cold War relics, and even places grappling with recent disasters.
And the reasons people go are just as varied. A search for understanding, for connection, for education.
Sometimes maybe just curiosity, or even seeking a thrill on that more commercial end. But the constant thread, the thing that keeps coming up, is the absolute need for respect, for ethical engagement.
It's not just what you see, but how you see it, how you behave there.
Precisely.
So here's a final thought for you, our learners, to maybe chew on. Given this incredibly wide spectrum, from places of unimaginable tragedy like Auschwitz to almost theme park-like experiences like the London Dungeons, what does our collective human fascination with these dark sites really tell us about ourselves?
What does it say about how we relate to history, to memory, even to entertainment.
Yeah. How do we balance that genuine, perhaps innate curiosity about the darker side of life and death with the absolute imperative to be respectful, to be reverent? Where is that line, and how do we make sure we stay on the right side of it? Something to think about.